Hey, this is Notser, and today we're taking a look at the Tier 8 Soviet battleship, Vladivostok. The map is Tears of the Desert, and the build is on the screen. So, just like all the other Soviet battleships at high tier, Tier 7, Premium Tier 8, Tier 9, and Tier 10, this has 30-second turret traverse. So I didn't see the point in speccing into Expert Marksman. It's got a giant schnoz, just as all the other Soviet battleships. You know, you can see it from space. It has 32 millimeters of bow and stern. The Soviet trait on a lot of ships is that they have extra excess armor near the waterline. And, you know, normally this effectively would offer nothing. But in the game sense, it is giving you a chance for the shell to ricochet because of maybe the angle the shell makes contact with that armor, but it also just gives the enemy less opportunities to punish you because there's less armor that is punishable. Now, I headed off towards Sea Point, and this friendly Minotaur was nice enough to use smoke. I'm going to try and take advantage of it against this enemy Richelieu. The Richelieu cannot hope to hurt me at this angle or otherwise, so even if I was spotted, this would be basically free damage against them, and I love those odds. Soviet battleships, regardless of whether their armor is usable, regardless of whether they're damage control, their heal, their radar, their guns are always useful. Accuracy is always beneficial. And we miss out on a citadel on that guy. Kind of frustrating, because it was a setup. It was a perfect broadside setup, and I think we missed the location slightly. And of course, typical Soviet battleship guns, or typical Soviet guns, high gun velocity. So it busted through quicker than it could even, recognize that it was going through the armor. And one of the enemies, probably the Buffalo, is using radar. But look at how he's playing. He's playing way too aggressively, and just as he's coming around the corner, radar goes out for him. So we are just going to wait for the perfect broadside. Don't want to miss aim. I think I miss aim there, honestly. A little too high. Yep, a little too high. Oh, the location. Just half a pixel off. And the difference between a citadel that finishes the target off versus watching this guy continue to live much longer than he deserves, honestly. But we should be able to finish him off. Now, it wasn't the guns that made the situation worse. It was my own fault by not aiming appropriately. So once again, aim at the waterline. He is turning into it. This does look like it will indeed go for the citadel, knock him out completely, and we should be in a much better position here. Couple enemy battleships. We're approaching this area, and this is one of the areas on Tears of the Desert that I really like as a Soviet battleship because it's a power position. I have perfect angle against every target that could punish me here. The only angle that I don't have perfect is on the complete opposite side of the map. They would literally have to be at a point to crossfire me. There's also a high explosive location that's just south of Sea Point that has been used before in the past, and Soviet battleships do not like high explosive. If the player base would learn how to fight them, and it will occur when they get more time against them, they would recognize that the bow is so pronounced. It is an extra fire zone that almost is never possible on most ships. So regardless of whether they have fire prevention or otherwise, there should be a valid location on the bow to try and get a fire. So there's always at least one or two on a Soviet battleship. They hate double fire. You're going to have to make them choose between using charges early and dying if they don't use charges, and then playing the game late without any damage control charges. That's really what you want to try and play for. Unfortunately, my butt is on fire, so superstructure, bow, both valid locations. I've got to try and avoid taking any more fire if I'm going to be completely honest with all of you. And as I'm backing up, this enemy Mogami is trying to punish me in that position. But if I just continuously fire on his position, I will eventually hit shells. I mean, that's one of the Soviets' best traits. I've been trying to, argue with myself, what is the best thing that the Soviets bring? And it's really this idea that aggression matters. Being somewhat closer to the enemy is a benefit. The accuracy buff is so pronounced that these battleships feel as useful at clearing out enemies as cruisers would. And that's saying something. Cruisers are probably the most dominant at continuously transitioning their fire towards targets that are vulnerable, constantly keeping fires on the enemy, constantly with high explosive, and then if they make a punishment, you get a broadside AP. And all of those shells will pretty much accurately land on the enemy because they're a cruiser. And especially high-tier cruisers. They're snipers, really skilled, can absolutely dictate the pace of the game. And because of that, I think that the Soviet battleships will have the highest win rate by far. And maybe that's not what they're looking for. And look, my bow, my giant gonzo bow, was set on fire by one of the enemy Bismarck's secondaries. Obviously, the enemy Bismarck that was responsible for it, he's sailing the other way. We're just going to blap the Bismarck with broadside AP for 10,000 on cooldown. These are 406mm guns. It's pretty much 406 from tier 7, 8, 8 premium, 9, and you used to be able to select 406 in the public test server for the tier 10 criminal, but you can't. That's the one exception to that. And this extra pin, oh, it's great. Extra accurate pin. Most of the enemies are trying to retreat. My radar is up, and I could use it to detect multiple enemy battleships, so I decided to do that. Now, it's the tier 8 radar, so it will only last 40 seconds. But 40 seconds is still plenty of time to get 2 salvos off, and that 40 seconds is incredibly beneficial to my team. They get to benefit from it too. And just doing a quick check, teammates have done a great job of dealing with DDs. The fact that there are no DDs alive left is a huge benefit because it allows me to stay in this position, this power position, and with a little bit of scouting from my team, I can easily contribute my accurate guns while still maintaining the flank, so to say. I am the only battleship over here, so it is important that at least if there's an enemy taking damage, it should be me. Enemy Mogami lands a pretty good salvo on my position, sets me on fire. It is one fire, so I am going to let it burn. And of course, he sets torpedoes out in the water, but there's just no way from the Mogami's position that those torpedoes could ever actually reach me. So I'm completely fine. I'm totally awesome. I'm still shocked that B point and A point haven't been captured. Why has C point, the most contested point, been captured, and the least contested point, A point, has not? I won't know. Now, B point had a lot of enemy DDs and friendly DDs that both died, but this is a really awkward position. We clearly have an advantage. Why don't we have anyone who has really great concealment capturing B? I don't know. There is a Worcester and a Salem that would be very vulnerable, so you would have to approach from the north and use the island that is inside at B to block their shot, but we should still have some progress there. We should force the enemy to have to defend. This enemy Worcester, he's very aggressive, moving into a position, and oh, just barely missed out on it. I have more than enough penetration for his bow. And we take him out. That accuracy, man, that accuracy. I love that accuracy. Every single salvo, especially at these ranges, feels precise and rewarding. And that Worcester, you know, at any moment I could move into this position aggressively and then punish him. You know, close that door real quick. Close it real quick. Enemy Bismarck looks to be moving off of the flank. We're just going to fire at the top of the hull on cooldown, and oh, beautiful. 14,000 with my front guns. Another 4,500 with my back gun. 19,000 damage on that salvo against the Bismarck. Yeah, the guns are pretty good. They're real good. I just don't know that this is going to exist on release. Every single Soviet battleship I have played has carried. Every single one. They all feel dominant. They all feel like they have the armor, the firepower, the tools, oh, of course we get to sit down on that guy, to dominate every scenario. Now, is that 100% true in every single scenario? Well, no, but they feel so dominant, it doesn't really matter. So I just don't know if that's going to exist into the full client. It's a line that, honestly, is the most successful at providing a battleship the feel that their actions matter. And that's very different from all the other battleships. So that's why I'm really hesitant to see these ships go live without, offering the opinion that they're probably going to receive some tweaks. I've heard people suggest, turret traverse is too fast, allows you to always be armor safe. Well, that's totally true. But it doesn't allow you to be armor safe against two separate targets. All it does is allow you to be a god in a 1 versus 1. If you have to consider more than one target, it's really on them and their play on whether they can punish you or not. I would honestly hesitate to suggest a turret traversal nerf, because that really takes away all of the quality of life improvement, the comfort the players feel when controlling these ships. And for brawlers, Germans, and the Soviets, you gotta have fast turret traverse. You don't have anything else in certain situations against some targets. Like they have the firepower or the angle or the position to punish you so hard, you are just merely left here to your own devices. But coupling that turret traverse with that accuracy is just so brutal. Every target that's in range of your guns is a valid target. You have that kind of accuracy. You have that kind of impact. And you have that kind of impact on pretty much all the Soviet battleships. Now, is the surface radar, the most useful utility that you could bring? Of course not. Detecting basically only battleships isn't as useful as maybe using a scout aircraft to extend the range of the guns. Wouldn't that be nice? Of course we're not going to get that, because that's too good. And the only other option is the fighter. Fighter's great at reliably discouraging enemy aircraft, but it doesn't really do anything else than that. It doesn't spot torpedoes, and of course the enemy cruiser sends out deep water torpedoes that I can't possibly avoid. It causes a flood. I use my damage control. At this stage of the game, it's aggression. Aggressive damage control usage. I want to move and push into the enemy and kill him. That's my goal. That's my plan. I don't think that the damage control is overpowered. I feel like it's very, very balanced. It is something that it's a clock. It tells you you've got to make a play, and you've got to make a play quickly. Otherwise, you will just lose this game. I love that. You do have to invest in a damage reduction, the duration of damage dots, in order to make it work and feel good. But once you've done that, you know what? It's a great tool, and it does exactly as described. It is a necessary tool to encourage aggression. All of the tools that they've done encourage aggression. The accuracy, it gets to its absolute best when it's getting close to the target. Close, medium range, you are super accurate, cruiser level accuracy. Obviously, it's got the armor, when angled, to really go. The turret traverse, it's fast enough and comfortable enough that the player base doesn't feel like they are always vulnerable or they don't have the tools to feel comfortable. I really feel like you've got to touch something other than the damage control, the armor, and the turret traverse. Maybe slow down the rate of fire just a 1 second or 2 second more. They already have very slow rate of fire. But I don't know. I don't know if this is a completely normal feeling that I should have in every single game. I literally feel like I am the primary contribution, if not the top 3. I do nearly 100,000 every single game. I get 2, 3, 4 kills every single game in my Soviet battleships. They're just really natural to play. They reward so well that aggressively pushing forward, angling your armor, and accurately engaging targets, that's what I do so well. I love aggression. I love pushing forward. Now, I wish I had my radar to detect the Bismarck, but we did use it to detect that the Bismarck was moving into a different position. I'm going to use the islands to block line of sight while engaging Sir Sinks-a-Lot. And I love his name. Reminds me of Sir Mix-a-Lot and his song in the 90s. But let's see, he disappears. Last location that we let him. They did a little bit of chip damage, 2 penetration. Not that much though, you know, maybe 5,000 damage or so. I thought I was at 138,000, now I'm at 143. I'm fine with that. Enemy Bismarck, of course, is pushing, and I don't want him to be able to citadel me. So I want to come around this corner really tight. A little too tight. Look at the giant nose that's just sticking out of the island area. Trying to bust one of his guns. Incapacitate them. We weren't successful. He's angling. I think he sees the torpedoes clearly, and he's going to take a couple. And I'm going to angle to get my ship so it doesn't take a citadel. And, oh, we are able to survive. Man, we just misplayed that so hard. Ran into the island. I aimed at the armor of his guns, and it didn't do as much damage as I was liking. Oh, well. He's dead now, and all that's left is a enemy cruiser that pulled a Notser. So, Vladivostok, really great experience, but every single Soviet battleship has been a really great experience. And I think that's because its accuracy coupled with its turret traverse, everything else is almost irrelevant. If I can just play within my turret traversal and my accuracy, I can have a major impact all over the map. And I love that. I love that about all the Soviet battleships. This is honestly the most exciting battleship line to date for me, and I can't wait to see. Obviously, we'll have to see if they change them, but we did 149,000, and we did a good job of helping our team win the game. Held that flank really long. They were able to capture it. So I'm really pleased with all the Vladivostok play. I don't really feel like there's any issue. There's a plus or minus. I think it's balanced as long as they feel like the accuracy is balanced over range. 3 kills, 2,200 base XP, all of it AP, of course. Leave in the comment what you think. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.